Hi, welcome to Fix Your Gut, the live stream. My name is Jason Hooper, and we're here with John Brissom. We're going to be interviewing Stephen Herbe. He is a really interesting guy. He is a nurse. He works at the Long Island Hospital, and he works in the cardiothoracic ICU, and he's also big into Muay Thai. So it's going to be a fun show. We're going to be talking about a lot of cool things. I also want to talk about our Unfair Advantage giveaway. Unfair Advantage is a great supplement from Upgrade Self. It makes you grow more mitochondria and gives you more energy. So if you're one of our YouTube subscribers, you're automatically entered to win. We do weekly drawings. Please make sure that your name or your user account and you're able to be contacted through your YouTube channel. If you're set completely to private, there's no way I can contact you to give you your prize. So please, if you want to win if you don't want to win the prize, you can.
All right, put yourself on mute right now.
Hey, if anybody's hearing me, if this is recording, we had some technical difficulties. As soon as Steven joined the chat, apparently, I guess Hooper's in limbo, or we're in limbo. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this is recording right now. I don't know if anybody can hear me or not, but we're working on it. This is great.
Really good, John. Bro, can you hear me, by the way?
Jason said he had a power outage. Hold on, let me call him real quick. Because I think that's what happened. Because all of a sudden he just disappeared.
Hey,
Jason, we lost you for a minute. What happened?
I had a power outage. I guess that's one of the things about doing a live show.
Yeah, technical difficulties. I wish we had one of those technical difficulties banners that was like do 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 do, but it didn't. We didn't have nothing. So if anybody watched this, it was just me and Steven just sitting here trying to figure out what the hell was going on for like 3 minutes. So.
Yeah, I'm using a laptop right now and a flashlight, and my router is on a backup UPC, so that's what we're doing.
Yes, that's right. We're doing it Amish style. So
continue the show.
Jesus.
Actually, it's pronounced Jason. Jason.
Oh, and for the record, you both got my last name wrong for the 3rd time.
I know you get on to me all the time about getting your name wrong.
I'm gonna punch you both when I see you.
It's Herbe, okay?
Is
that better?
Yeah,
okay.
That's it.
All right, Steven. So I've known Steven probably, let's say, say about 3 years now, going on.
Yeah, probably right around 3 years. Yeah.
We met off the Bulletproof forums. I'm not going to give his name out, but he's been on there off and on for time to time, and he contacted me about coaching a long time ago about improving his supplement regimen. We've been friends ever since. You know, and we've been, of course, you know, talking from time to time about him being in the medical profession, being a cardiothoracic nurse, and what he sees as far as his patients and what they're doing for heart failure and so forth and so on. It's a sad state. Probably much every patient that you're probably dealing with is probably on a statin, right, Stephen?
Yeah, simvastatin, Lipitor. Yeah, usually, because that's part of the heart failure regimen there.
Yeah, and that's sad because usually with statins, as Jason would agree with me, they're one of the last drugs in the world that you want to give somebody with heart failure.
Which is funny because it's ordered and nobody really bats an eye at it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, statins definitely inhibit mitochondrial function, which of course will worsen heart failure symptoms because the heart has a lot of mitochondria in it in our body. You know, the heart requires a lot of energy, so a lot of energy has to be produced. So these statins are directly harming people who need their mitochondrial function the most. That's why you see heart failure patients when you give them ubiquinol and PQQ. I had a grandfather-in-law who had heart failure, and I gave him these supplements, just those 2 supplements. And his ejection fraction increased from 17% to 35%. He actually didn't have to have an oxygen tank for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
You know, and it's sad because statins are making these people worse.
So okay, the big thing about all this, as you say that, it seems like if it's such a market improvement, why don't we hear more about it? Like, why is that not prescribed first or in conjunction with? Like, that's what boggles my mind about the whole thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with lobbying, and I think a lot of it has to do with some of the free vacations and stuff that are going out with. Yeah, I mean, they don't just get like fancy pens and stuff in their offices and desktop calendars. They're also getting, you know, vacations and paid for things to go out and go to their conference where they're to be educated about the latest and greatest statin drugs that are coming out. But yeah, there's something like 15 million Americans that are on statins right now. That's a high percentage, and it's also the #1 prescribed drug classification in the United States. So there's a lot of people on statins.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess you go to your doctor's office, they say you have high cholesterol, and it's just, you know, it's an easy sell right there. So
I just read an interesting study, and there is there's an article that I think is going to be posted on Friday. Is that right, John?
Yes.
So it's finished, but just like because of our posting schedule, that's just when it's going to go out. But it said like 78% of patients with cardiac failure have been found to have these endotoxins, these binding endotoxins in their heart, and these are toxins created from bacteria that live in the gut. And so, like, we're blaming all this stuff on cholesterol levels, but really it has more to do with your gut health than it does with how high your cholesterol is.
I mean, yeah. I mean, also there was always the link too that they couldn't figure out between poor oral health and then also poor oral health and heart disease too as well. I think a lot of it has to do with these endotoxins as well as inflammation.
Yeah, I mean,
that are increased
with the gingivitis. You know, it's because of gingivitis, and you have these receding gum lines. You know, you look down there and you can see somebody's root canal when they talk, and that's gross. But also, it compromises the epithelium. So anytime, I mean, we have bacteria that
your mouth is just jacked. Oh my God.
I mean, yeah, there's tons of bacteria. We're not going to stop them from making endotoxins. That's probably not going to work. But at the same time, once that barrier is compromised, like it is in your gum line, whenever you just let it go, that's when the toxins get into your bloodstream, and that's when they mess you up.
I mean, when doctors give out these medicines, Stephen, they don't really talk much about the side effects a lot of the times with the patients. I don't know if you've seen any of that being a nurse on the floor or anything like that, or have nurses themselves ever brought up concerns as far as conflicting medications and so forth and so on?
Yeah, I mean, all the time. I mean, that's part of the job description, to make sure what's being prescribed and what you're giving to the patient and what they're already on and what's being changed around is, appropriate and safe for, what's going on. I mean, that's a large part of what I do.
Yeah, because I know with my son, nurses had to be the front line communication, because most of the doctors were, they are busy. Doctors are very busy, don't get me wrong, but most of them, the nurses were more up on the side effects of the medications or interactions with medications themselves than the doctors were.
Well, I mean, I don't want to, shit all over the doctors, but I think for the most part, generally, they're there to do the right thing, and they are very knowledgeable. But yeah, I mean, we hang out with the patients more just by virtue of the job itself. So, I mean, we are bringing up issues, as they arise, especially where I work in, the ICU, where things can change from, minute to minute. So.
Yeah. Another thing about statins too is to answer your question. CoQ10 and ubiquinol are being used in Japan to deal with heart disease and heart failure, and a lot of our studies are coming out of Japan. Actually, there was one good study that I used in the statin article that I've written, that Japanese studied why statins cause such issues with the mitochondria and such issues with heart disease, and a lot of it had to do with depleting of CoQ10, depleting of coenzyme A energy reactions, as well as depleting glutathione. It's sad that doctors are giving these medicines out. At least the bare minimum, if they believe someone should take these medicines, they should, have them take CoQ10, to at least give themselves somewhat of protection.
Well, I mean, we do a lot of talking about, taking your fish oil every day and blah, blah, and that's like, like a big thing. What percentage better off do you think people would be if instead of fish oil they were saying make sure you get your CoQ10 and everything in, every day over the course of a lifetime? Like, do you think people would be better off in the end? Do you think a lot of this stuff would be, prevented?
That's a good question. I really don't have an answer to that.
Like, you know what I mean?
Both are important for heart disease. I mean,
is fish oil, like the topic of the day because it's an easy sell and it's marketable, and there's not really a whole lot that has to go into being explained about it? Are we just a victim to the marketing hype and such?
I mean, how do you feel about that, Jason? Could it be because they have a pharmaceutical grade fish oil that they can sell, that they could give out, more pharmaceutical cells by giving, big pharma's fish oil?
I think that we're still on the link of cholesterol. We're still very centered on cholesterol being the focus, and
right, yeah, cholesterol is the devil and everything,
and gene deficiency and so forth. And we're saying that people with hypercholesterolemia need these statins because it saves one of their polymorphic genes, or both in the case of homozygous. But and so the fish oil has not been really shown to have that much of an impact on total triglycerides. And through diet alone, the last statistic I found said that you could only really change your lipids by 15%, and so that, if you add exercise to that, you can go another 15%. So there's 30% right there, and then they're looking for another 20% at least in a lot of patients, and then the homozygous, like I was talking about earlier, where they have both genes that are bad, then they're gonna medicate no matter what, because their total lipids are going to be like in the 400s or 500s, just no problem. Their fasting triglycerides are going to be sky high all the time, no matter what they do. So when you're focused on lowering cholesterol, and that's really all you care about when trying to prevent heart disease, you're not really going to look for CoQ10. It's not going to lower cholesterol. And really, we're not even really talking about cholesterol here. We have to make the distinction between cholesterol and these lipid packets that are transporting cholesterol, because LDL and HDL, LDL is a low-density lipid carrier, and HDL high-density lipid carrier. These are just molecules that are carrying cholesterol, and the high density is carrying more cholesterol than the low density, and the very low density are carrying hardly any. And so it's like, I don't know, we've just got it all wrong. I mean, the next time you go talk to a doctor about a statin, and they're going to put you on the statin, and they say, hey, you'd be like, well, why am I going to be on the statin? He says, well, because your cholesterol's high. And just ask him straight up, be like, what's cholesterol? And see what he says. See if they have any understanding of what it is or what it does, you know.
They're gonna probably tell you that it's gonna fill your arteries up and lead you to having a heart attack, you know, instead of getting down to the root cause that all, you know, cholesterol is used in the body as far as an arterial sense is just to help remedy the damage of inflammation.
Yeah. I mean, there's another biomarker out there, you know, the high blood pressure, and fish oil will relieve blood pressure for sure. I mean, it'll lower your blood pressure, no problem.
What about your resting heart rate? It also lower that. I know that they say in patients with heart failure they should limit fish oil intake because it can stop maybe the extra PVCs that they might need for you know, heart contractions.
Yeah.
But the average person, it would stabilize their heartbeat, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, a lot of it's electrochemical too, is what we forget, and the reason why that fish oil works better than, say, aspirin would be because of the DHA in fish oil and because of its electron donation potential. But you know, just you can lower your blood pressure just by changing your mineral content. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy to hack. It's not even funny. It's just a product of the calcium-potassium channel. You know, it's no big deal. But again, we don't really want to. There's like other crazy blood pressure medications they prescribe instead that, you know, they focus on completely different things, a lot more side effects.
I mean, I'm sure, Stephen, one question I have since you have worked in ICU is why do you think that they claim that they reduced the amount of EMFs that are in ICUs because communication is so important and they don't want to interfere with the instruments and stuff like that are inside the ICU. But have you ever heard of any other reason why? Because most ICUs communication is blocked. You can't even get a cell phone out, correct?
You can't get like the cell data is very bad, but you get Wi-Fi no problem. I mean, the computers are Wi-Fi. There's Wi-Fi all throughout the hospital, so. Yeah,
because when Abel was in the intensive care unit, the Wi-Fi wouldn't even work very well in the intensive care unit that he was in. Everything had to be done by radio contact.
No, the Wi-Fi at my hospital and the last hospital I worked at works beautifully. So. That's
interesting, because I mean, what have you seen being a nurse as far as conventional medicine is concerned? I mean.
Hey, what have you seen in your job as you're doing your job?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Just have you seen anything? You know, do you see people getting worse? Do you see the same people? You know, okay. Coming.
So, let me give you a little breakdown. Most people that come to my unit, we do have chronic patients who are there for things like chronic CHF, chronic thoracic issues. But a lot of them come in. They've had they've had chest pain. They've had a cardiac cath done, and now they find out that they need to have either valve repair or replacement, a bypass surgery. We get a lot of aortic dissections. We've seen a rash of people coming in, young guys in their 20s and such, coming in and they need new valves because of drug use. That's been
for mitral valve prolapse.
So that's kind of been a big eye opener.
What drugs were they using? Do you know offhand? Probably your stimulants, more than likely.
And where did they buy them from? Because I'm going to Long Island next week.
You going to Long Island? I'll ask them over. I'll see if anybody's still around. You can come give out. You can trade a little heroin for CBD and see what happens.
All right.
Hooper's a smart guy. You gotta bring the drugs to the people who need it most. You know?
I'm just kidding. I do not use drugs.
Well, he wants to go down. He wants some of that high grade Long Island meth that ruins your mitral valves in a matter of years, so he can get it down there in Texas and be a kingpin, right, Hooper? Some Breaking Bad stuff going on.
And probably the best meth around comes from the pharmacies. They call it Adderall.
Yeah. We could do a whole nother.
And the best heroin, they call it hydrocodone.
Oh, they call it methadone.
Just as a funny aside, what cracks me up is people will be like, I can't take oxycodone. I threw up one time, makes me sick, but I do all right with Percocet. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure Percocet is oxycodone and Tylenol together. I don't know how you somehow figure that out and change the chemistry around where, you're all types confused.
If anything, the Tylenol would have made them worse.
People say a lot of silly things. It's actually for all the sad moments and all the running around you do and how trying it is on you physically and mentally. There are actually a lot of funny, silly, feel-good moments during the process. And
I'm sure there are. And I mean, to be honest with you, not to short anybody who's a doctor, but I have greater respect for nurses, especially I've seen.
Hey, John, why are you bringing all the doctors down, bro? Come on.
I'm not. It's just that nurses have, in my opinion, a more difficult job. Because doctors, even though they care for their patients, it's still less hands-on approach. Unless you're a surgeon, it's a total hands-on approach, but then it's a less personal approach in most cases.
I think a lot of it comes down to just the type of a person that you are.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm not saying that there's bad doctors.
A lot of it though is the hospital. It's the hospital administration too. I mean, it's not like the people at the hospital choose what they get to do. I mean, they're told what to do. I mean, within the limits of the law and whatever. I mean, they're not going to hand Stephen, well, they probably are not going to hand Stephen like a scalpel and be like, hey, this guy needs some brain surgery.
Like, bro, I have a hard time making a sandwich. Forget about doing brain surgery.
Yeah, like start cutting, buddy. This guy's in your hands.
Yeah, right. It's already bad enough I'm left-handed. Forget about cutting anything.
Dr. Nick Riviera is out today. He's on Dr. Oz and he can't make it. Here you go. That
was a great Simpsons joke. I give you credit for that one.
Hi, everybody.
But being in the healthcare field is hard, whether you're a doctor or a nurse. And it just nurses just surprise me with their dedication. And I've seen some bad nurses too, but especially if you have a good nurse who's dedicated to their patients, who want them to get better, who treat them as family. It can also be very difficult because I know that you probably had some patients working, for cardio. Thoracic, that you've had some patients that you've cared about, especially if you see elderly patients come back in that have died, and it's harsh.
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of it is definitely, life and death. That's always sad, and then you don't know what exactly to say to comfort somebody or a family member. I mean, sometimes there's nothing really to say, and to just be there and stand in silence is the best thing you can do.
Okay, so do you got any, to lighten the mood up, you got any funny...
Yeah, Jesus Christ, you two, you friggin' bring down the mood right in the beginning.
You got to have some funny nurses.
You're like, oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of laughs, and you're asking about dead people.
I'm sorry. I mean, you got any...
How do you work with this guy, man?
You got any morgue stories or anything?
I thought we fired him, I don't know. He just keeps showing up.
I thought my country music jokes would have got me fired, but I guess it's because I'm from the South and I'm allowed to make them.
No, it's because you
were
bashing everybody's favorite bottled water.
Hey, I'm sorry.
Oh, can we talk about fat water? Can we talk about fat? Did you guys already talk about that in the last episode? Did I miss that one?
No, we didn't.
We haven't talked about it yet because it's not released yet, and yeah, so the only thing that's out right now with the fat water, I guess they've got it going on at the CrossFit Games, and they've done a marketing release. They
released the powder. You can buy the powder on Upgrade itself. They didn't release the bottled water, which I don't think will be sold.
So how is drinking fat water different than drinking a glass of water and then drinking a little bit of MCT oil on the side?
Well, the problem is, yeah, I see what you're saying. The problem is with that is that, as far as I know, John might be right as of the taping of this, but as far as I know, that information has not been released yet, and it's proprietary. So.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll talk about it soon. But I guess there's something.
All right, so we'll ignore the fat water. I'm a bad guest. Next one.
It's okay.
No, it's all right. It's an interesting thing, you know, because I'm sure for Muay Thai you have to cut weight, and I was a wrestler, so I used to cut a ton of weight too.
Oh yeah, I was impressed by the judo thing. I was like, Jason's over there throwing people on their heads.
Yeah. Hopefully not. I mean, you're not supposed to.
John wouldn't know about that because he watches wrestling down there in the South.
I can't help it. Hey! John Cena broke his nose Monday on Raw, so you can act. It's real to me, damn it.
Yeah.
You look like that guy, as a matter of fact. That's so funny.
The guy who said it's real to me, damn it. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, people break their nose all the time, and that doesn't mean they're a fighter.
Okay. Hey, Edge had a career-ending injury to his neck where he couldn't wrestle and he couldn't feel his arms and his legs. So.
I mean, the same thing would have happened if he was in a car wreck.
Yeah, I guess so.
But anyway,
he was probably in
back to this hydration thing. You know, I mean, and what they're also this other thing that they're starting to do now is that they're starting to do blood tests, and part of the test involves plastics that are used.
I was just about to say the UFC is, I think starting in October, the use of IV rehydration is going to be banned from competition.
I'm not even sure that it's limited to the UFC. It might have other implications. I mean, the NCAA and the Olympics might be doing the same thing because this test is now available, and you can. But what they're really trying to do is catch people from blood doping, which is very hard to detect. And so you can, through this plastic thing, you can actually tell if somebody's been doping. But that if they use any sort of IV at all to rehydrate, then it's going to detect that too. And I know that some people have been going nuts over this, and they're like, it's the best way to hydrate. You know, man, I've known people that have rehydrated that way and people that haven't. I mean, I don't think it makes a heck of a lot of difference. You know.
Well, I think a lot of it. Well, first of all, it depends on what the weigh-ins are. I mean, if you cut a whole bunch of weight and then you have to drink it all back, you're probably not going to feel good because you have a ton of water and stuff in your gut. And then, you know, having the IV is easy. You can sit down, you can chill, you can eat, you can do whatever. I just don't think you're going to feel as nice having to rehydrate all that weight by having to drink it.
I mean, if your GI is functioning normally, and you're drinking the right stuff, you're gonna absorb quite a bit of it anyway, every bit as much as you are intravenously. I think that's just been my experience. I've done IV rehydration. I've done it. Well, I've done it not just for wrestling. I had really bad food poisoning once when I was in grad school.
I was gonna say, did you get a little too drunk and then you slapped an IV in there?
No. Okay. No, but hey, I do have an interesting story if we have time. One time I went to a wrestling clinic, and I was going just to help out a buddy who was running the clinic, and I was just going there. And this was, I can't remember where it was now. It's somewhere on the East Coast. I don't know, like it might have been at the Citadel. I don't really even know. Like a lot of times when I go on these things, I don't even know where I am. I just go to the hotel, I go to the gig, whatever. But anyway, it turns out that they were like, they had a limited number of participants in a certain weight category, and they're like, you know, and my buddy who was running the thing, because they do a clinic, it's like a week-long clinic, and then they have a tournament at the end. And so like the day before, he's like, hey, so we have very few people that are in this weight class. I need you to wrestle in the tournament. I was like, what? You know, and I was also there to clinic too, so like my credibility was on the line, all this stuff, and I had to make weight. So I cut an unbelievable amount of weight the night before a tournament. And in an amateur wrestling, usually you weigh in the same morning that you compete. So you weigh in that morning, and then you got a match like right away. So I weighed in, and I got off, and I walked outside. They have this like they had this like ambulance there with like medics just in case there's an injury. They have them on standby. So I walk up to the van and I was like, hey, can I get an IV? And this was like a number of years ago. This is going to date when this happened, but like they were like these like yokels were out there and they're like, oh man, that's some Michael Jackson stuff right there. This guy wants an IV. I was
All
like,
right, I'll give you that one. That was a good one.
and I was like, I just want to rehydrate. You know.
That was actually John's uncle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the
John.
country sounding yokel.
His lawyer. He's our like acting lawyer for Fix Your Gun.
Not that uncle. It was my other uncle. The
Oh,
uncle
okay,
that lives
okay.
down there in Texas, and he was, he's probably like, well, then again, oh, God, this is gonna make me sound horrible, but a lot of them rednecks sure know about mainlining.
Yeah, well, it was right after Michael Jackson passed away from his deal with, I think it was using ketamine, or I'm not sure.
Propofol. If you see
yeah,
the way propofol actually works in like a hospital setting, I have no idea how that guy was doing it. I mean, I can kind of see why he would do it because you get probably the best sleep ever. But I mean, Jesus.
It knocks you out, man. After me going into surgery on propofol, it knocks you out, and then when I come out of it, I can't sleep for like a day or two. It messes me up.
Yeah. So, just to get back on this whole thing with hydration, there's a lot of conflicting things. The IV stuff, I don't think is a whole lot of effect. I don't think it's really going to be as messed up as some of the people that are criticizing the UFC's decision to do that. And I think that EPO and blood doping is extremely dangerous, and I don't think they should be doing that at all. So what were we talking about, like heart disease or something? I don't know.
John was talking about dead people and whatever.
Okay, now Steven, what's the funniest thing that you've ever happened in the hospital? You gotta have at least one.
What is with this? You're back on this? Like the whole reason why we escaped from this and went on this weird tangent is because you're like, hey, people are dying in your hospital, right?
Hey, a funny story isn't necessarily a death story.
Like, oh, what's the most dead person you've ever seen? Who is
I didn't say that. I said I want a Patch Adams story.
That's not
like
man.
a clown. Look,
John's killing the whole bit here.
I'm sorry, all right. I'm the third wheel here, okay? No, but
John, me and Hoop are gonna take over the show. And you
how many times do we have to fire you, John?
Was that what happened when my internet just went down for a few minutes? I couldn't get back on. You were denial service attack.
Yeah, the
viewers I'm using a
protested.
freaking flashlight to.
Was it scary dark tales with Hooper? Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, so what are we talking about?
Jesus Christ, John, sit this one out.
Well, I can already tell that if anybody's listening to this now, this will be the unreleased hidden podcast.
Oh my God, forget it. You guys aren't going to have any more viewers. I just tanked the whole thing. I'm sorry.
No, but I mean, Steven did have some good questions, Hooper, earlier, and we were talking about different stuff and everything, and with him working, I guess one of my questions is with him working in a nursing environment, do you think there's anything that he can mitigate? Because he has to be exposed to some things, right?
Oh, yeah.
If not disease.
Oh, I got a question for you right now, actually.
Okay.
I was out at dinner outside, and I got mosquito bites on my arms, and I'm supposed to have a tattoo done on Thursday. Do you think there's am I at risk for getting an infection now? Do I have to change the appointment?
I don't believe so. I mean, I don't see why mosquito bite would cause could lend any more infection. I mean, they sterilize the area topically first, and anything that's subdermally done with the mosquitoes already happened.
Right.
So if you would have been infected from that bite, it would have already happened right now. But most mosquito bites go away. I mean, by morning, you're getting it done tomorrow.
Thursday.
Oh, yeah, and it's not going to be there by Thursday.
Is there anything you could put on it to make it go faster, like maybe some ice, maybe some histamine-reducing supplements or anything?
I'll take my HSOs tonight before I go to bed. I'll be fine.
Oh God, yeah, HSOs are here for anything, aren't they?
Right.
There's a lot of old wives' tales out there. I don't really think any of them work too well.
Eat some dirt, put some chapstick on there. You know,
I
make
heard
sure.
of a banana peel.
Dryer
Remember,
sheets.
remember, Stephen, when you tell someone to not eat dirt, you get sniper scopes put on you. So.
That's right. Oh, forget it.
Oh, so you know the last show we did on HSOs, my Google account got hacked. And they sent me a text message. They're like, your password was just changed. And I was like, what? And so I went on, like, I had to contact them and change my password back.
Please tell me they changed it to something like HSOs for life.
Well, they have no idea what they changed it to.
God, if they would have done that, then...
I can't believe how fanatical people get over gut health and all of these things.
There's always been supplement wars, but...
I know.
When it comes to HSOs, like that's when people get the most religious, I think.
I don't understand why. They're not religious about vitamin C. Like, you know, like you can say vitamin C you shouldn't be taking it at all, and people will be like, well, okay, well, here's why I take it, but, you know, I'm not going to, you know, put you in your sights and take you out, you know, and stuff like that. And it seems like with HSOs, like HSOs mafia, they're trying to take you down. I guess maybe we're speaking too much of the truth. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's
like
that.
when you were talking about magnesium, nobody wanted to shoot you in the head then, and you start talking about HSOs, and all of a sudden you're a marked man.
Yeah. So, okay, so do you, but seriously though, Steve, do you, when you're working in the hospital, and you're exposed to all this stuff,
right?
Do you do anything differently to stay healthy?
Well, I try to get to Muay Thai as much as I can. I work nights, so I work 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. So I try to get enough sleep on my days off. Other times I kind of disregard it because I want to live a normal life with the rest of the day walkers. So I've been doing Muay Thai the last 2 years. I lift weights at the gym. I try to eat right. I've fallen off the wagon a little bit, cutting down the weight, trying to take a fight in the winter. Going from 180 to 158, and right now I've kind of like stalled. So that's getting past that plateau is my next endeavor.
Jason, is there anything you could do as far as, because, you know, as a nurse you scrub a lot. You know, I would suggest, if possible, avoid using the hospital soap because it's probably got triclosan in there, which is a known anti-thyroid hormone. You know, it's a thyroid hormone disruptor as well as an endocrine disruptor.
There's a lot of hexanes too, which are you know, inflammatory. Yeah, they might not. He might not have an option. He might have to use that stuff. It might be protocol. I mean, I think like if he started showing up with his own soaps, like somebody's gonna start asking questions.
Because antibacterial soap's probably the worst stuff. I mean, would you say it's worse than the ethyl alcohol antiseptics that you're scrubbing?
I mean,
yeah, I would. Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is leading to MRSA infections, right?
I think with the MRSA infections, we're talking about keeping a live incubator pumped full of antibiotics alive on a table, you know, for hours at a time. I think that's, you know, I think when you're talking about the horizontal gene transfer, that's where it's coming from. But, you know, I train, you know, whenever you train martial arts, and I bet, Stephen, you're not the only medical professional who's in your gym. I bet there's a bunch of other ones too. They're just everywhere. Like it's like doctors and nurses. They like to help people in the hospital and then beat you up. And then I don't know what.
It's kind of like an interesting archetype because you know you're there to help people and like you know sometimes you know you're very cool, calm, and collected and laid back and like other parts of your life. But then you love getting in the gym and you love you know pushing yourself and things like that. I think there's a certain amount of like stress you just got to be able to blow off, and martial arts are a good way to channel that. Yeah,
I mean I understand it, but some people freak out when they're training, especially grapplers, you know, where there's a lot of physical contact and you're training with a nurse and you're like, oh, am I going to get sick or whatever? Nobody ever gets sick. But what I worry about for you is like the lighting and like the studies done with nurses and
shift work disorder.
Well, yeah, and like they have a really high risk of cancer. I mean, it jacks your circadian rhythm.
Yeah, we tried our best to mitigate that with Steven. It's a little hard, but you know, blackout curtains when he gets off of work, turning off the Wi-Fi. and have them take supplemental doses of melatonin, a very low dose. Because it seems a lot of those studies, as far as nursing and cancer was concerned, was because their melatonin levels were low.
I was out in LA last October and I met Helen Erland, and she sells contact lenses that you can get tinted to whatever color you want. They're a little goofy because the contact lens goes beyond the iris, so you'll have like whatever color it is, whatever your eye color is, plus that extending a little further into the cornea.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so when people look at you, they might think you're a little nuts, but you could get amber tinted contact lenses from Erland, and I don't know if you're into contact lenses or not, Steve.
He wears his blue blocking glasses sometimes.
I wear them I wear the glasses on the drive home. I have astigmatism, and I have basically no patience for my contacts, so I don't like putting them in. And I especially won't wear them at work. Like, I like having my glasses on my face because God knows what I'm going to get sprayed in the face with.
Okay.
Somebody's going to cough on me, at least.
Fair enough. Well, you might consider getting some kind of tinted prescription eyewear too.
That'd be something to consider.
I mean, you can get the industrial ones that go around, your frames, but those are like Mad Max style. You know what I mean?
I can wear a motorcycle helmet around everywhere.
Yeah, there you go.
You should come into work with a full biohazard suit on. You're like, I'm not getting sick.
That'd be good, and then I could never go back to work because I'd probably be fired immediately.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's more than anything else I think that I've read about nurses, especially shift work personnel, as they're at a much higher risk to cancers. Most of those tend to be breast cancer, which you're probably not going to have any problems with, but I don't know. It worries me with people who work in those conditions. I mean, somebody's got to do it, though. You've got to have people on hand.
Right. Yeah.
There's people that can't. You have to have people that work third shift. We all would not like to in a perfect world, but we need people to work third shift. So there has to be ways that you have to try to mitigate the damage caused by a lack of melatonin and a disrupted circadian rhythm.
Do you do they incentivize that? I mean, do you get more money for that?
Yeah, it's like it ends up. I mean, you want the exact figure? What it ends up being?
No, I just wanted to know.
Sure, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I think it ends up being like an extra $5,000 a year.
That's not bad.
You get a night differential, so.
All right, that's pretty good.
So you gotta average it to the cost of your health. So now, I mean, as far as doing more Thai is concerned and exercising and so forth, are you ever worried about picking up any, diseases that are common with doing martial arts or anything like that?
I'm worried about that. I'll end up looking too good, John, and then nobody will want to talk to me anymore.
I'm just saying, I mean, Jason would probably know more about this than I did, but as a wrestler, as a wrestler back in high school, we had to be concerned of getting ringworm.
Not really. I mean, no, my gym's very clean. Do I think about it? No, not really. I'm more worried about what's going to hurt in the morning, as far as getting punched and kicked and things like that.
Jason, what should someone do if they had a really hard, intensive training workout and stuff like that, and they just got beat over and over and over again? Because Steven always contacts me, and he's like, why do I constantly agree to getting punched in the face over and over and over again? And I'm like, it's just because you're a sadist, bro. That's just what you do.
Probably.
So, is there anything?
You know what? And like brain trauma has become like a big thing now, with the NFL and fight sports. But I mean, like, I couldn't think of anything else that I would really rather be doing. I mean, I have that much fun with it. So.
Well, most people, like, when they're sparring, they're not going full contact. Well, I mean, they're not going 100%, in other words. And you probably wear headgear while you're doing that?
No, just a mouth guard.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't think the headgear. I don't know if the headgear is really aimed at so much brain trauma as it is preventing you from getting cut in your face.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, I think actually now that you mention it, I mean, I don't know. I do more wrestling stuff. I don't really like getting hit.
What gets me is that people will wear a mouthpiece at the gym, but not a cup.
Oh yeah,
And
I've heard of that. Actually,
I'm a lefty, and you know, if you throw an inside leg kick, you might get kicked in the balls.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fun time.
But it blows my mind because I would rather lose a few teeth and have my balls intact than, you know, the other way around.
Yeah, because you know, getting your ball retracted down is not fun, and especially if you get them tangled up, you know,
Right.
it's gonna be a massive surgery to get that taken care of.
Yeah, I've already had a hernia fixed. I don't want to go through anything else. That was my one and only. So.
Yeah, but Jason, when you brought it out one time we were talking about wrestling, you said people don't wear cups when you wrestle. I swear to God, I did in high school.
man, it's not very common. I don't know. At the NCAA level, I don't think really anybody does. You're not getting kicked anywhere. I mean, it's not wrestling; it's amateur wrestling. There's no striking, and
hey, Kurt Angle wrestled with a broken freaking neck in the Olympics. Okay.
yeah, but like, there's no. There's no reason to in jiu-jitsu.
Well, in jiu-jitsu, they say the cup acts as a lever, so it actually sometimes gives you an advantage.
Yeah, I don't know because I don't know anybody that trains with a cup in judo jiu-jitsu either. But I know that the different, you know, in judo jiu-jitsu, a lot of people start wearing the mouth guard because there are certain positions that you get, like when you're wrestling, if you get pinned, you're done. But in judo jiu-jitsu, you get pinned, it's just the beginning, and so you can catch a knee in the teeth pretty easily, and so a lot of people are using mouth guards to do that. But there's no cup. I mean, it just what kind of thing is going to happen to you while you're grappling that you're going to get injured in your groin area? I mean,
I don't know. You land wrong, someone goes for your testicles. I don't know.
Land wrong? Like, how are you going to land on your genitals?
I knew somebody who used to be so big that they would sit on their genitals from time to time.
Oh my God, I had the worst work story with that, but I probably shouldn't say it on air, to be honest.
It's not PG. It's not.
No, well, okay. So, all right. Here's the takeaway.
Hold on. I'll say this first. Disclaimer: if you're sensitive, fast forward for a few minutes. All right, go ahead.
If you have an inguinal hernia, please God get it fixed, because I saw a guy's balls who honestly, it was at least the size of a basketball, and he could not sit down normally. It was terrible. I was like, why would you do that? I was like,
yeah. I mean, I had an abdominal hernia, and it literally looked like I was pregnant. And I only had it for 6 months. And it literally, like my stomach, it jetted out from where my stomach is. It jetted out like this, and then came back down to where my abdomen and pelvic region was. So it looked like I had a hump. And
it might have been a baby, John. You should have just waited another 3 months and seen what happened.
Yeah, maybe it would have came out. You know, maybe it just.
You might have actually been pregnant. I don't know.
So it would have been like Junior. You know, like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they put a baby in the abdominal cavity. And you know, the baby had no umbilical cord, so how it got nutrients is beyond me. You know, get to the chopper. You know, but it's just that's.
that was Predator, John. That had nothing to do with there were no babies in that movie.
That was just my Arnold Schwarzenegger impression. I'm sorry, okay? I'm pretty sure Jason could have done a lot better when I'm not for the jokes and the humor. You know, I'm not
Jason's like, how can I take my name off this show?
He's like, oh, come on, Jason, say something. You're leaving me here like a fish out of water, man.
I'm just gonna let it keep going.
Jason was talking about having guns like 2 episodes ago, and he's like, man, where do I keep that shotgun right now?
Actually, I could get it out. It's right there.
You know, he knows where it is, even in the dark.
So let's talk about hunting and food, because 3 people here like to hunt. And
that's a great thing, actually. The hat that I'm wearing right now, it's all mental. Cameron Haynes, he's actually a bow hunter, which I think is just the coolest thing ever.
Well, down in the south,
bow hunting is hard.
It is. It's very hard.
I want one of those compound bows. Those things are sick.
If you got good accuracy, you can take down, you know, small buck with it.
I just really, the thing about bow hunting, I mean, it's a good sport, and the people that are good at it, I think that's fine. But I think you should. I don't know. Like, I have a problem with people who they lose their upper body strength, like, and they try to go out and bow hunt, and they wound animals, but they don't kill them. You know what I mean? And That's not cool, you know.
Because there's not enough force behind their, behind them using the bow.
Yeah, and there's also some people who just, because bow hunting is a separate part of the season, and so you can, on your tag, you can collect additional deer because of, if you do different, like sometimes some states have, it depends on where you live, but sometimes there's black powder, rifle, bow, whatever, and so people are like, oh, well, I want to get another couple extra does, so they go out and they go bow hunting, and they're not qualified to do it, and they end up just being idiots out there. They don't know how to shoot. You know what I mean? You have to get, most states.
Well, I mean, it's a sport, so you have to practice like like anything else, and part of playing a sport is you have to be physically able to do that sport.
Yeah, I think so. I think part of your license, like if you're you do have to get a license in most states to go hunting, and because that's kind of how they make money too. But a lot of these classes you can do online, they don't really care about if you're even paying attention,
No, they don't. And what about fishing with dynamite?
Fishing.
We do that down here in the South.
With dynamite, huh?
And he's taking his name off the show.
No, I love fishing though. Fishing's fun. It's relaxing. I don't see why
you go fishing with a thing of C4, John. You get back to me and Jason. We'll see how it went.
now it's C4.
Yeah.
Now we've upgraded. This fish are going to be fascinating.
So Hooper, here's a question.
Okay.
Let's say you had access to wild game meat, bear, elk, deer, etc. How bulletproof, or would it be more bulletproof than getting grass-fed beef and whatnot, what have you, from wherever?
I think from the bulletproof angle, they want to know how much fat, and like yak has a ton of fat. Buffalo, I keep calling it bison. It's not really bison anymore. It's all buffalo now. But like deer, most deer now that are out running around, unfortunately, are corn-fed because everybody has these stupid deer stands because nobody wants to hunt anymore. They just want to shoot something. You know what I mean? I think it's.
So you're saying that they want to shoot something just to say that they shot something and not really.
Right. I mean, they set up a deer stand, and the deer know it's there, and they go to get their food, and then you set up in a stand with a gun, and all you're doing is waiting for them to get there, and you shoot them. And anybody can do that. It's not sport at that point. It's
not.
Just.
It's basically like fishing with dynamite. That's what.
But I mean, how does that affect the quality of the meat? Well, the thing is, if it's fed corn, it's going to change the fatty acid profile. Now, there's not a lot of fat on deer anyway. It's pretty lean. I think it's a excellent source of protein. I eat a bunch of wild game.
I
hear elk is delicious. I'm really curious in seeing what it tastes like.
It's good, but you need to mix it with something else because, you need to mix it with beef tallow or something because elk is, it's really lean. If you've ever seen, elk and moose and all these animals, I mean, when they're in season, they're pretty leaned out at that point. And man, these are gigantic animals. They're enormous. But
like 1,400 pounds.
I usually just stick to deer, hogs, turkeys, and sometimes pheasant. Sometimes I'll go shot hunting.
My only concern for deer is what about, Jason, the possibility there have been some instances of hunters coming down with human chronic wasting disease, usually up there in the Northeast, from becoming constantly near deer brain matter and so forth and so on, and stuff like that. I mean, do you think that's any cause of concern? For people, maybe they should check the area to see if there's an abundance of chronic wasting disease, if they are, butchering the deer and, using mostly all parts of it and so forth and so on.
Yeah, I mean, if you cook it, it should be okay.
No, chronic wasting disease is from pyrons. You can't cook pyrons.
Oh, right on. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I haven't heard too much from it. Usually those kind of things happen in farms more than they do in the wild.
Correct, but they're saying they're happening a lot in deer now, especially up in Pennsylvania. or there's been case reports of hunters coming down with human chronic wasting disease. There's not really any name currently yet, like there is for Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease, for that Prion disorder. So I didn't know if you have heard anything about it or not.
I haven't. I haven't heard anything to substantiate that, and I'm very skeptical because like deer live miles away from each other. I mean, they do socialize on occasion, you know, but it's not like cattle where they're all in a pen and everything, you know. So
they're out running around.
Yeah, I just don't see it as an issue. I mean, how are they going to get contaminated themselves? Because they're not like the cattle that get like mad cow disease. You know, sometimes they're eating animal. You know, like they grind up whatever. Like a cow dies and they grind it up and they put it in feed.
That's how we get Prion.
Yeah, but so how are deer getting it then? I mean?
Good question. I need to look that up. I'm honestly don't understand. But chronic wasting disease is a Prion disease that's associated with deer. You
know what I bet is happening? Because when you go and you get your deer processed, if you don't do it yourself, and you go to a butcher, which is very expensive, by the way. It's cheaper to go buy deer at the store, venison at the store, than it is to get your deer processed, believe it or not. But they mix in other fat with it, and I bet you what's happened is they've mixed up they've mixed up a cow that was infected, and that's how these people.
I mean, I could see that happening in humans, but how is it happening in deer?
Yeah, I haven't read the study that you have read, so I can't respond to that. I thought you said the hunters were the ones that were getting.
The hunters were the ones that getting, but chronic wasting disease is originally found in deer.
Well, are they eating the deer?
Like Prion diseases are found in cattle, quote unquote mad cow, and in humans it's Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease, which we don't even know if it's caused by cattle Prions or not. You know, so you know the deer are getting chronic wasting disease, which is the same. It's the deer version of mad cow. It's a Prion disorder. So I'm curious. And hunters were the ones who were coming down with it too. They were coming down with the human variant of it.
Well, does it have something to do with the hunters? Like, is it just because hunters tend to eat deer more often, and it's just a matter of just being exposed to it more?
I don't know. We know so little about Prions. I mean, even Jason can attest to that we don't have a good understanding currently of them on a human microbiology level, and we don't have currently any defense against any Prion diseases. We do know that eating brains of any animal isn't the most healthiest thing to do, especially human cannibal tribes, which I believe the human Prion disease from human to humans carry, if I remember correctly. You know, so I mean, it is possible. I would just stay away from eating brains. That's just me. Especially cow brains, which are illegal to ingest in the United States. You can't go and buy them.
No, it's not. They serve menudo all the time in Texas.
I'm surprised about. I'm surprised.
At a gas station.
I'm surprised about that.
Yeah, well, Texas is basically its own planet. I mean,
because here in North Carolina, you can't serve any eyeballs, or you can't serve any of the cow head.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Sean, give it up.
So.
You're the only one who would order eyeballs off the menu anyway.
Jason, how do you feel about Prion diseases, though? Do you think it's a cause of concern?
Yeah, they're bad. Stay away from Pyrons.
So, I mean, yeah, but do you think
let's talk about vegetables now.
All right, real quick, one question. Do you think that it's the news media that says we're all walking around with a ticking time bomb of Pyrons? You know, it'll be like 20 or 30 years we'll see mass cases of Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease. And the only reason why we see it in the Amish now is because of the interbreeding?
I can't respond to that. I don't know.
Okay. I guess I'm the only one that studies Prion disorders over here. So.
Yeah, I mean, how common is it, though?
It's very common in the Amish, and it's extremely common in a lot of...
It's very common in the 6 people that actually have it.
It's common in a lot of Jewish populations, too. I mean, it's a rare disorder, but it seems to be on the rise.
I don't know, man. I'll have to check that out. I don't know a lot about it.
Look out for an article on Prion.
So you think like you're gonna go into work one day, and you'll be like, "Hey, where's Tommy today? Oh man, his Pyrons are acting up again."
The crazy thing.
He lost his mind. He's out back fishing with dynamite.
The crazy thing is with Prion,
been hanging out with those Amish chicks.
Is the younger you are,
He took a group of Amish people down to the river to fish with.
I told him not to eat Jebediah's brains, and he was like, "Ah, it's cool, man."
The thing about Pyron disorders
he made an HSO and Pyron smoothie.
It's the younger you are, the younger you
Washed
are.
it down with some unfair advantage.
The younger you are, the more severe
supplement.
the disease it is.
It's a new supplement from Life Extension.
Oh God, it has gluten and pyrons and
Yeah.
HSOs in there.
That's what we're going to be talking about today, tomorrow. On tomorrow's show, we're going to be talking about all of the junk that goes on in the supplement industry. We've been hard on the medical industry, but I think it's time that the supplement industry takes its turn.
Oh, we're gonna turn it inward, and one day we're gonna turn it inward on Fix Your Gut too, and tell you the issues, the mistakes that we've made in the past. That will be a future show. And
Just like a blooper reel. It's just going to be this episode.
Hey, this episode's been great. We showed a funny side of us.
When are we going to actually start the live stream?
You guys are hilarious. Well, just to be a little thoughtful and serious here, I wish you guys a lifetime of success and happiness. I think you guys are doing a really great job, and I look forward every time reading your posts and your videos and stuff like that. So
hey, thanks,
I'm glad that I could say to you guys are my friends, and I appreciate you having me on here.
And Steven's been one of my biggest supporters since the very beginning. He supported my book. The original Fix Your Gut, was a big supporter of that from the very start. I am thankful for everything that he's done as far as being a personal support in my life and support Fix Your Gut.
And I love how when you introduced me on the last one, you're like, well, it's gonna be a little bit more relaxed and laid back, and in my head, I'm like, yeah. And I'm not as smart as the two hosts, so I having a regular dummy on this show.
Hey. We had some laughs on this show. We had some awkward moments. I think that we reached a lot of people, and people got to learn the human side of us. And also, they learned that I'm obsessed with Pyron disorders.
And Hooper wishes he didn't get on the laptop, and he could have totally used the power outage as a way out.
Yeah, like, I don't know, power outage. I mean, okay, you guys ready to do the show?
Yeah, we're ready. Let's do it. We got another hour. Let's get this knocked out.
All right. Welcome to the Fix Your Gut live stream. My name is Jason Hooper.
My name's John. We're going to talk about NASCAR, guns, and wrestling today.
Oh, goodness. Cool. We should just keep this going. I mean, it's already.
Why interrupt the flow here?
Yeah, exactly. You're about to say something about vegetables. We're about to talk about vegetables.
Oh my God, John was going off. So people are going to see that recording of John talking about pyrons and cow eyeballs?
Yeah, that's what's going to air. All the stuff that we're about to talk about.
Tune in, watch that video. That's John Brisson at his best. He's tremendous. He's alive.
What I should do is we should just keep going. Like, we should just keep recording for another 5 hours. And then I'll just give somebody a case of unfair advantage to edit the video into something that makes sense.
Guys, I will throw in an additional 2 boxes of unfair advantage.
I apologize, Steven. This is not your fault, man. This is
probably my fault.
No. It's mine.
How can it be your fault? Well,
I don't really bring anything professional or deep.
You're a nurse. You've been working in the medical field. Like,
yeah, we talked about pyrons, and John brought up hand soap, and
well, because whenever we started talking about the medical profession, which was like the angle of the show, we're like, hey, you got any funny stories about dead people?
Yeah. And then you shine the light in your face, and I was like, oh shit, he's gonna be like, oh, a ghost is kind of like a dead person, but only later. So.
Well, we should definitely do this again.
I'm sorry, everybody. To be serious though, I didn't mean to make fun of death. I've seen a lot in my life. And,
no, you weren't making fun of it. You were just being your normal happy self, John. I think that the people appreciate that.
I know.
People like to laugh.
We've been talking about being more honest and open and trying to let our personalities come out on the show instead of just sounding like robots. And so I think this has been. I think there's a good happy medium that.
Well, yeah, I mean, people want to tune in and watch you guys, talk about the things that you care about. So, I mean, That's half the battle right there.
Yeah, it's just they don't want us to go and like read off a script or be robots or anything. So sometimes, we tried to experiment with like, I guess, under-preparing to try to sound a little bit more natural. And this one was, it was pretty under-prepared. So anyway, leave something in the comments.
Hooper threw everybody under the bus. No, you should be prepared, but you should also, just relax and be yourself. I'm not going to tell you how to do your show. Anyway, moving on.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think there's a good balance. And, I think maybe there was some good stuff that we said on the show, and the last 7 minutes have just been talking about how bad the show was. So
no,
we should have started with that.
I cannot wait to read the comment about who is this idiot with the silly accent on the show, and oh my God, it's going to be good.
Hey, we gave out some good information and we gave out some good laughs. There are some hidden treasures on there.
Laughter is very important. You know what I mean?
And of course, in every show,
very stressful, day-to-day lives. You got to be able to take time and be able to sit back, unwind, and have a few laughs. I think that's just as important, if not more important, than supplements and so on and so forth. I think a lot of that is. Yeah. I think a lot of that is lost. I think especially in today's society, we don't value just real basic human interaction, just having a good time with one another, and we get caught up in a lot of the minutia, and we lose out on things like having a conversation with your friends and just having a couple giggles with your buddies. I think that's very important.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Some of my favorite podcasts have just been absolutely silly, and I think that's when people start to bring themselves out, and this self-deprecation and stuff at the end, it's just kind of a joke. But I think you're 100% right, and we're trying to get to some of that. We're trying to get into the core, and when people are just goofing off, it takes the pressure off, and then you start to really discover some of the gems that come out more than a sales pitch, or I'm sure I've heard a lot of people. Go on podcasts, and it's just like they've got something, they've got a product that that they're really proud of and they're really happy with, and they want other people to know about it, and it just ends up being like an infomercial, and people are wanting to escape from that format and try to get into something else. And so it's been interesting because it's affected our willingness to accept sponsorships or that that kind of thing, because we don't want to be held accountable too much to that. We want to be able to be open and honest and not have somebody tapping on our shoulders and saying like, hey,
right. Well, I mean,
do what we want.
So much throughout the week, in normal everyday life, I guess, you have to, you can't 100% be yourself. Like you have to put on a little bit of a facade. You got to be a professional, and I think people sometimes lose touch of that, and you got to be able to expend that silly, chaotic energy somewhere else. And I think this is a good medium for doing that. Yeah.
So, you have any good stories about the ER?
About the unit that I don't work in? With the ER. Let me think, because I have floated to the ER before.
Oh, the ICU. I'm sorry.
ICU. No, well, I have worked in the ER for a little bit.
Okay.
Cool stories in the ICU.
Anybody with Prion infections?
Yeah, John, you'd be surprised at the amount of Prion infections coming through the cardiothoracic ICU. It's actually an epidemic, and Hooper and I were just about to get it.
Have you ever found like two people connected to like a pole, and you could only pick one of them to save, and you had to choose who would live? And
there could be only I've never had to do that. What cool stories. Well, what astonishes me is how far, for everything that we rag on with medicine and things like that, we've come along. Like, you could do a lot to really save people, and the fact that they're able to do these surgeries, and people have all these tubes in them, and you have an arterial line and chest tubes. Like, we've really invented a lot of cool, useful things along the way in such a short amount of time.
That's where
so what you're saying is
shines.
Yeah, so what you're saying is we're basically immortal and we can do whatever we want, and you got our back.
Can I go take a box of Unfair Advantage right now? I'm gonna go do that. Where's my box at? It's somewhere in my living room. So.
Yeah, we're basically immortal, and John, yes, you can go take your unfair advantage. You really need it right now. I could tell.
It would be, I think if you took it, it would be a fair advantage at that point.
If there was one reason to legalize medical marijuana or marijuana in general, I think all anybody has to do is tune into the last show we just did and watch John go off about pyrons and cowboy eyes and think about how many more interesting stories we could have out of John Brisson. If
all I would be is I think I'd hear like people knocking on the door and stuff like that. The government's here to get me. They're here to get me, Jason. They're here to get me.
Okay.
All right, Hooper. So back to my vegetable question, if you don't mind.
Okay. That you asked 15 minutes ago.
John was like, wait a minute. I got severed cow heads.
All right, vegetables.
So, vegetables. How important do you think they are, and do you think it's worth investing in something like the home delivery services where they bring produce to your house every week, or buying a share on a farm?
I think the farm share is an excellent idea, they do have some municipalities. They have these like community growing areas, and you can, I guess, rent an area of the land and grow your own stuff there. That's becoming more and more popular, and the permaculture movement. I think that's really cool. The stuff that they deliver to your house, I guess that depends on where it comes from, but I mean that sounds cool too.
Because there's a service that I use out here on the island where they get produce from farms out east or from upstate and things like that. And I find the biggest problem that I have is that I don't end up using the produce fast enough, and a lot of it goes to waste.
Yeah, but you can compost it, and that's fine. You can compost it. You don't feel like you have to eat everything, but...
No, I want to eat it. So what do you think is the best way to go about, do I just have to cook it right away and just kind of...
Yeah, you can cook it. You can put it in smoothies and shakes, whatever you want to do, just to eat it. But I think it's really important to eat locally grown produce.
I agree.
I think that, the thought of eating everything that we consume from another hemisphere is very unnatural, and it goes against our circadian rhythms and our biology. And so if we're eating the wrong foods at the wrong time, or we're eating foods that haven't breathed the same air that we have, or drank the same nutrients that fall from the sky, that kind of thing, it's unnatural, and we need, I know it sounds kind of hippie-ish or whatever, but we need to be in harmony with our environment a lot more.
Free love, man.
Well, it does show up. I mean, it shows up on our hormone profiles.
I'm sure. There's no doubt.
We can observe it. We can measure it, and we can duplicate the effects. So it's a real thing.
Just like if you have allergies, local honey is better for you than honey that you would get, in some part of the world, because that honey has those local pollens from the bees that pollinate, to produce the honey.
Yeah, but I think it's extremely important. I think it's important to try to eat meat also that's as local as you can get it.
Right.
Your other products. I mean, I still eat Kerrygold butter because a lot of times that's the best I can do. But that's from Ireland. That's a long way from Texas. So, you just do your best. You don't have to obsess about it, because that causes a lot of harm too. But I think, doing the farm share thing, I think that's a very valuable thing. Everybody should look into it, and it's also cool to support the local farmers.
That was my next statement. I usually go out of my way to support small businesses, for whatever it is. If I think they have like a neat product, I think it's important that you support these guys, because they're out there doing their little artisanal piece, and you don't want that to be lost.
Yeah, and like the factory farming is jacked. I mean, it's not in a bad way, not like jacked like you just got done shooting Trent or whatever, but like it's jacked in a bad way, and I think it's important that we support the people who are doing the right things, and I think that through we can make all the laws that we want, but the only way to make actual change is through market regulation, convincing people to buy things that are of good quality.
I mean, we've certainly seen that more and more with like the paleo movement and healthy fats. So I mean, I think there is some headway being made here as far as things along that line, which is encouraging.
Absolutely. I mean, you can say what you want about paleo, whether you agree or disagree with its philosophy, but what are they actually doing? They're eating wild, meats, or as close to it as they can get, and they're eating fresh-grown vegetables, organic stuff. I mean, they're living more naturally than.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that'll dissect the minutia of it and come up with ways that certain things are quote unquote right and wrong. But I think overall the message is one that should really be embraced.
Well, I think some people are critical of it, and even because it's called like the paleo movement, and they're like, well, we should live like our ancestors did, and they're like, okay, well, this isn't right, because philosophically there's a bunch of things that's wrong with that, just kind of like the alkaline diet. You just look at it and you're like, no, that's not right at all.
Well, the thing is like, how do we really know how our ancestors lived? And we're all from different parts of the world, so does that mean that you should eat like your ancestors from Europe or from Asia? Like, it gets very
they had convoluted. Like the blood type diet, which turned out to be nonsense also. Yeah,
well, that comes as a surprise.
Yeah, but and it's like, oh well, we have these genetic differences and we need to do this and that. But yeah, with the you have to start off with the basis of truth, and they're like, well, like you said, the people were eating all sorts of different stuff, and people are a lot healthier now than they were back in the Paleolithic era, and they're living a lot longer now. We have technology, but some of the technology and some of the innovations that we've made are causing us harm for, and we're trading harm for convenience.
EMS for example.
Yeah, and another thing, so yeah, there's a lot of that happening too, but that's just the way it is. I mean, try to take some of the good stuff with it too, if you can. I mean, I'm guilty of that with a lot of diets as well. So
yeah, well, I mean, I certainly don't eat 100% bulletproof all the time.
None of us do, but we try our best with our diet the best we can.
Yeah, I think that if you try to eat Green Zone all the time for a long period of time, and you just ate a select few foods, it's not really the point of the bulletproof diet, and I don't think that's what Dave has in mind.
It's not healthy.
I don't think it's good for your gut biome to do that all the time either. I think what he's trying to do is say, these are foods that you need to be cautious around, figure out if they work for you, and that's why they're categorized that way. And the Green Zone foods are foods that are probably going to be okay for most people, and the Red Zone foods are foods that are probably going to be bad for most people, and just kind of do what you need to do. But the whole concept of being bulletproof is to develop a lifestyle where you can be resilient, to where when something doesn't go your way 100% of the time, you can bounce back from it pretty quickly, and not just like religion, where it's like you have to eat X, Y, and Z foods and take these supplements and do this, or else you're not bulletproof. And being the best that you can be. And so that's what I think that a lot of it's taken out of context when you read an article and you're like, well,
yeah, I agree.
And it's a great slogan. I really like that. It's like, this is bulletproof, or that's not bulletproof, making it black and white. And it's a cool slogan, and it really, I like it. I think it's fun. It's entertaining too. But for something might be bulletproof for one person and might not be bulletproof for another. So you have to customize it to yourself, and I think that's why also another thing is like the coaching that Dave does. If you wanted to get a coaching session with Dave, it'd be really hard because he's so booked all the time. It's because people want that coaching, like the kind of coaching that John does. They want the accountability. They want access. They want to be able to ask the questions and stuff. So I think and we talked with Jason Miller, who does coaching on Eat to Perform, and I just
that was a really good episode, by the way. He was an interesting guy.
Yeah, I see a great benefit to having a coach, and the whole coaching platform. I think everybody should have help.
Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier, that it's important to just have people to talk to and bounce ideas off of. I mean, you know that you have that person there to talk to you about that thing.
Yeah, and the other cool thing that Jason Miller said on the show was he was like, the money that you pay keeps you motivated to do the right thing, and that's a value in and of itself.
That's true.
And I find that the same thing in schools, like when parents cheap out and they don't buy the right supplies for their students aren't motivated to do, they haven't put the investment into it to get the most out of it. So
right.
I think that's kind of cool.
Like how girls like to buy shoes or bags or whatever. I'm really big into buying like different like fight equipment, like gloves and things like that. And I feel like, and it's not an inexpensive hobby by any means, but I feel like when I get something new, like I'm excited to get in the gym and try it out, or I bought a new stethoscope, for work, and it makes you excited to go in and do the things that you do.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. People are going to spend their money on what they want to buy. I mean, you say, well, I can't afford to eat healthy. Well, how much do you spend a month on your cell phone, though?
Right. Yeah, you're right.
And people spend $100, $200 a month on cell phone, but you can't afford to buy organic vegetables. Give me a break.
Well,
yeah, or at least try to buy the organic vegetables that they can stay away from the conventional ones that are most dirty. At least try your best to try to improve your life. No matter how little no matter how little that you're able to do it. The most problems I see with people doing these diets and stuff like that, like bulletproof and paleo, is that most people go head first into it, and for a lot of people, they can't do that because we're not used to that as being modern humans, where we dive head first into something, it tapers off and most people don't stick with it. It's making small, gradual changes that people are able to adapt the most to.
Yeah. Well, guys, my battery's going dead, so we should just call it this point. So, again, Steve, thanks for coming to the show. Sorry it took so long before we could actually get to some serious conversation. We kind of got silly, but hope everybody enjoyed the show, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.